So we got our list here. Now, one thing you will notice about this list is that if I add more and more items here, and I just add exclamation marks to make them unique, at some point we will go beyond the available space. Now, you would expect that you simply scroll now, but it turns out you can't scroll. No matter how you try, this is not scrollable. Because by default, the view generated here, this view that holds everything in our app component, is not scrollable. That's also a difference compared to the browser. On a website, if you exceed the available space, by default, scrolling bars will appear and you can scroll the website. This is not the case here in mobile apps. If you want to scroll, you have to explicitly tell React Native and the native platforms. Now, of course, this is a common problem and scenario though, and therefore making lists or content in general scrollable is very easy. There is a dedicated component provided by React Native that helps you. And that's the ScrollView. We import ScrollView from React Native just as we imported text input button and so on. And ScrollView does what the name implies. It gives you a view, so such a container element, which will be scrollable. And therefore we can now use this ScrollView around our goals here. So let's try replacing this view here with our ScrollView simply. We add ScrollView here instead of view around our list of goals. And I leave my style on the ScrollView. Keep in mind, this style here controls that this container takes up a lot of space. If we save this doesn't look too good. This now is indeed scrollable as you see, but the space is different than it was before. We have way more space for the input and way less space for the list. The reason for that is that the ScrollView has the job of making something scrollable, but the area that's scrollable is in the end determined by the parent, the container that holds the ScrollView. So what you should do here is add another normal view, which restricts the available height, to which you then apply the style that sets the height that will be taken up by that view. So that is the setup we had before, but now we have a ScrollView inside of that view. So the outer view controls how much space this area of the screen should take up, and the inner ScrollView then makes sure that this space and the items in that space, to be precise, will be scrollable inside that overall space. That's how we set up such a ScrollView and how we let it interact with the surrounding container. If we set it up like this and we save everything, we get the same proportions as before, but now indeed, as you see, this list is scrollable here. And that's of course what we want, because now we have a list where we can add more and more items, and it stays scrollable as we exceed the available space. Of course, if I force a reload by pressing R here in the terminal, and I then go back, all the data is lost, and now you see nothing seems to be scrollable here. If I add a single goal here, we do see though that this is indeed scrollable, but of course it's not really scrollable. It always jumps back to the top because we don't exceed the available height. So ScrollView is super useful because it does allow you to make lists or content in general scrollable. Now you can learn more about ScrollView and the props it supports in the official docs. I want to draw your attention to those props here because there is a lot you can configure about the ScrollView. You can, for example, configure how it bounces. And you also see that some props are specific to iOS and others are specific to Android, whilst yet others are available for both platforms. And again, these are some of these platform differences which we will encounter here and then throughout this course. For example, you will notice that in our app here, I can scroll and I have this bouncing effect. If I would want to disable this, I could set always bounce vertical, which is true by default, to false. So if I go to ScrollView and I set always bounce vertical to false, and I then save this, you will notice that here on iOS, if I now try to scroll, this bouncing effect which we had before is gone. Now if I add more and more gold to make sure that I exceed the available space here at some point, it still is scrollable, and now it also bounces, but it didn't bounce if there was not enough content to fill the available space, the available height here. If you do want to set this or not is totally up to you and which look and feel you want. But it is important to be aware of the vast configuration options you have here, and therefore taking a look at those props here and understanding what you can set and how you can use this view is definitely something I would encourage you to do, because every app you're building will be different and every app needs slightly different configuration. And therefore the official docs are always a great place where you can find all kinds of supported configuration settings.